Hey guys, welcome back to the Stanley Parable. Hey, there is one
All
ending
of his coworkers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting.
which is left through the
Perhaps he'd
left
simply
door
missed a memo.
with the bucket. So we'll get that first today.
Is Stanley, without the bucket, really Stanley at all? No, surely not. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death. The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them. As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death. It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
The bucket welcomes you to the grand exhibit.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see
Is
that
this what the
is
bucket
far more
going
noble than Stanley will
to
ever
the
be
heaven
in
or
his
something?
short life?
25 buckets. A photograph of 25 buckets. The greatest number of buckets ever captured on camera. The photographer experienced catatonic shock for several weeks as a result of the euphoria from exposure to this many buckets at once. There are definitely a lot more than 25 buckets here. Why does it only say 25? A bucket with two handles. This bucket is depicted as having two handles. Such a design has never been created in real life, having been deemed too dangerous and recklessly experimental every year. Dozens are put to death just for attempting it. My God. I don't know what is the developer's obsession with buckets. Inferno bucket. A replica of the Inferno bucket, which is the medieval era, was so powerfully alluring that it drove dozens of nations to war with one another for control of it. Billions shined, and yet, in spite of it all, the simple fact remains no one can control a bucket. Well, I do know one war which happened because of the bucket. There's a video by Oversimplified on this. The Bucket War. I think it's called the Bucket Wars. The stress bucket, an analogy. Worrying, negative focusing, negative thinking, lack of reassurance. Vulnerability equals size and strength of the bucket. Coping strategies equals holes. Rest and relaxation, doing something you enjoy. Rest and relaxation. The level of water in the bucket. I seriously don't understand actually what this analogy is. Cave drawing. While we know that buckets predate the existence of mankind, we do not know by how long. This cave drawing depicts early man's discovery of the practical uses of the bucket, by which time the bucket had already likely been around for several millennia. Notice in these drawings how the bucket is allowing itself to be used, having judged humanity to be worthy of its treasures. Wow.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
The hanging bucket. Okay, this is what it was. This piece symbolizes the necessary relationship between bucket and humanity. However clear our grasp of the bucket may be, there is yet more that is always out of reach. This distance inevitably is for our own good. Oh, I thought I was supposed to fall here. Okay, what am I supposed to do? Oh, I'm supposed to grab this bucket.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision for...
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
So that were all the left door endings. Now let's start with the right door ones.
As Stanley lifted his bucket, he felt a connection to all buckets everywhere. This adventure, he decided, was for all of them. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
First, I'll get the easy ones, which are
This was
not kind of
the
time
correct way to the
consuming.
meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him
Like
that the employee
this.
lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go.
Oh, well, look who's got cold feet. Well, from here, it looks like the only way forward is down, since the lift won't be coming back, but that's okay. You've got a bucket. Did you know that buckets are routinely used as cushioning devices? It's true. You can fall on a bucket from literally any height and survive.
What? Really?
I'm serious, Stanley. Jump. Jump with the bucket. I promise you'll live. I extra double promise that you can land on the bucket and not die.
Let's jump.
Whoops. Looks like I was wrong.
Oh man.
Clumsy of me. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. What new mysteries lay in store for our bucket-loving heroes today? Let's find out.
There used to be this new content door here. I'm not sure. It should be accessible somehow.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
I never noticed there's a clock. It's currently 11:20 in this clock.
Truly, being here with the bucket was a grand adventure. Stanley reflected on all they'd been through together. First, walking through the door on the right, then walking to the lounge, then arriving at the lounge. What a thrilling journey the bucket had inspired.
The next time the game resets itself,
Perhaps this was where the bucket felt most truly at home. Here in the
I should remember to check the clock out
Perhaps
and what
it's
the
the only
time
place
is.
a bucket can even feel at home.
I didn't know there were so many dialogues here.
Stanley decided to just give the bucket absolutely as much time as it needed to be in the lounge. Clearly, the bucket and the employee lounge shared a special connection.
Let me see for another minute probably. There is another dialogue. I don't think so. There's another dialogue. Let's go.
But finally, the bucket was done being in the lounge, and they took the first open door on their left to get back to business.
So there are two. There's one ending which I can get by going into the lift here. There's one lift when I take this left door. Maybe that will be next.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Not going to the cargo lift either. I'm just gonna climb here.
This is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down, it doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there?
What has even going on? There's a clock here too, and the time is 11:20. So I think every time the game resets, the clock starts from 11:20.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
It's 12:20 in this one. $11:20 here. 11:20 here. In the bucket.
Now this, Stanley thought to himself, this is a bucket. And indeed it was. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on it. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
Now I'm curious. In all the clocks it was 11:20. Why only in that one particular clock it was 12:20?
Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
No, I won't do that.
Oh, good, Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
Can't go up, huh? Okay.
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but
Why
you're
is there
spending
this
too much time with it.
Kid.
Don't you want another story involving the adventure line? We could make the adventure line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it. Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
Raw assets. Map 2. The only map.
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
It's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up. Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
No.
Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you.
I'm not an engineer, but shouldn't those pistons be in some kind of a chamber?
Beloved Stanley Parable characters. Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets.
I'm not sure what is going on. Either the bucket is not leaving me, or Stanley is not throwing the bucket in. I am trying to get rid of it.
The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Didn't work.
The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent. All of his co-workers were gone.
Why does this
What
clock
could
say
it mean?
12:20?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Can't see. I think something is written on the clock. Anyway.
Finally, yes, the bucket. Yes, yes, yes. I love that
The
bucket.
charming clock quartz.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the... This was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good,
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not
I'll
question
get on
why
this
or how
way,
this bucket was
walkway.
speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Danger. Danger everywhere. There is a sign here which says that no buckets beyond this point something.
No, stop. Look
No
there on
buckets
the wall.
past this
There's
point.
a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the
And now
problem was
what,
that
I
you
go
actually
back or
don't
something?
know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior.
Can't
up to this
drop the
point,
bucket.
which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Is this a bucket?
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing
It
you
looks
is
like
bucket.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire
This should
set.
tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1.
Yeah,
Is
the
this
music
a
also is
bucket?
kind of similar to it. Well, it looks like a bucket to me.
Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
And how am I supposed to know that?
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
It definitely looks like a bucket to me.
Incorrect.
What?
It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Even if it's a 3D printed recreation, it would still operate like a bucket, right? You could still fill water in it.
Item 3. Is this a bucket?
The first one was a hologram. Second one 3D. What could it be? I'm giving guesses. Yay!
This is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket?
No, this is not a bucket.
Correct.
Yes.
This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one. Is this a bucket?
I just said no, this is not a bucket.
Incorrect.
What?
This is a bucket.
How is it a bucket? How is it a bucket?
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
Yes, this is a bucket.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
How is it both? Either it is a bucket or it isn't a bucket. How can it be both?
Wait, hold on. I can't find the next. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
I don't see anything. So this is not a bucket then.
Yes. Thank you. There's nothing here. Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. Wait, when I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true. Unless, is that what you think? Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket?
Is everything a bucket? Let's say no.
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence, and yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry, but I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go. What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, is everything a bucket?
Everything
Every single thing in
is
the
a
game was
bucket.
Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue. But it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
Okay, the game has been reset now.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed
See,
the memo.
I don't understand. Now, it always is a right turn here. This time it is left. I continue playing it, but there's no change. There's no difference in the game. Then why is it been reversed here? I have no idea here.
One man, one bucket, one chance to seize their destiny together.
Either all the turns should be opposite, but no, just that one turn. Oh.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
I'm taking the right door.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go good,
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
What dark room?
Stanley once again obeyed.
Ah,
blindly.
there it is. Ah, it's a
Now
phone.
pick up the phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick up the phone and it will take us back home where we can go about life together.
The last time I picked it up, it was this narrator showed me a wife, pretended I had a wife, a home, I had a happy life, and It was all a lie.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
Okay, am I supposed to go in there now? Now what? Oh, there is the bucket. Pick it up. Hello, Stanley. It's me, a bucket. Press P to take me to work with you.
The Stanley
I
Parable
am at the
reassurance
office
bucket
now.
is merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
Ah, there is the bucket. Press Z to take me back home with you.
Lately, I've been concerned about
I am
him.
back home,
Wouldn't
am
you
I?
be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something,
there is
but
the
I
bucket.
don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me.
Press C to go back to work.
Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else.
So right now, I am being transferred from home to office to home. Does it kind of mean to say that Stanley is liquid?
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal.
Present to ignore anyone in your life except me. Okay,
It's sad.
like I had
I suppose
ever
he
had
doesn't
an
need me
option.
anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort
Where
of
is the bucket? Here it
shiny
is.
bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
You believe I'm real, don't you, Stanley? Press O to go back home.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another.
Press M to relive the same day with me over and over again. Like the Groundhog Day.
Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket? Oh no. I'm having feelings for the bucket. No, 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 no. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks.
What the
What's
fuck?
wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes, the bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation.
See, I do respect your feelings, but I like you only as a friend.
Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it or I'll...
Close your eyes. Go back to work, Stanley. That was nice.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
Well, I suppose there is one ending left now, which is what happens if I
Bucket time.
unplug the cord.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yeah, good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick up the phone and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together.
Whoa, hold on. Why did you unplug the phone? Were you trying to resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was joking. Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things. Buckets can't talk. It was a joke.
Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket.
Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me serious. Where did I mess up the joke? Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it. But there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is. It's sitting right here. Let's take a look.
What?
What is comedic timing? What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds? Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is yes. Let's dive deeper. If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These are the optimal conditions for good comedic timing. To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time. With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor. Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm dunny with the funny." Let's practice screaming, "I'm dunny with the funny" now.
I'm Johnny with the funny.
Good. This saying is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy. Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An effective survey should be no less than 10 pages long and should include the same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences doubled over in laughter and even tripled over in laughter in no time at all. Just remember to let them stop laughing at some point, you gut-busting little scamp. After all, with each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged invaders who threaten our very existence, and who very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles. All of us must be prepared to give our lives to this noble cause, just as our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may Earth reign supreme.
Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well, no matter. I think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the two doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along, let's head back.
So now what? I go back to the two doors and come back again?
I can feel it. This time, I'm really going to nail the delivery. You'll be in stitches. A talking bucket, you'll say? How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious concept. The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me. Thank goodness we had the instructional video. Otherwise, who knows where we'd be right now. Well, I wouldn't be the king of comedy, that's for sure. The bucket spoke to Stanley.
The bucket spoke.
The bucket spoke. Oh, I'll figure it out on the fly. No need to overthink things.
Do not lie. If you are lying right now, stop. Here I am.
You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Let's see what happens if I go to the left now.
No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back to the phone. Did you not even look at the instructional video? I think this is all covered very clearly. There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The joke is completely done and over. It's all your fault, Stanley. I'm going to be ridiculed in the community of other joke writers. I'm going to be shamed at every one of our meetings from now on. All because you couldn't watch a simple video and take a hint. Are you proud of yourself for bringing me down, Stanley? Are you proud? Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Okay, let me enter the door on the left.
No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back.
Doesn't allow me.
You ready?
Okay, let's go to the
Stanley
right
and
now.
The bucket came to a set of two open doors. They entered the door on the left.
What is this?
What? We're back at the phone already? No. What's going on? There was supposed to be several rooms leading up to this. There was supposed to be a build-up to this point. A dramatic display of remarkable comedic wit which culminates in this scene with the phone. But now the timing's completely off. The joke will never land. Well, not the way it was meant to. And it's all my fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the two doors room. What an egregious mistake. I've made a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of King of Comedy. I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling whelp. I think I need to go back and rewatch that instructional video again. Yes, surely that will help me improve my...
Stanley, you love the bucket so much it's like you... it's as though all of your other most prized possessions pale in comparison. Yes. Well, let me try that again, Stanley. I heard that you are pale with shame over how unabashedly in love with a bucket you are. No? Still not? Is it the delivery? Pale with shame. Pale with shame? Pale... What's another word to describe a bucket? Stanley, this bucket is so metal. I think I saw it playing guitar. No. getting away from making fun of Stanley's obsession with the bucket, which was the whole point of this. I'm no good at these jokes. I need more instructional videos. That's exactly what it is. That's what will make me the king of comedy again. More instructional videos.
Sorry, Leroy.
Let's see.
I suppose those are all the endings we have in this game. I think there are a couple of special endings which are just pending. I've got all the rest. Which now the special endings, I'll do another video, which would be the last for this game. Thank you for watching the video. Please do watch all the other 4 parts. Please do subscribe to my channel. Comment down below which other game you would like for me to play. Thank you for watching once again. Bye bye.